Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Well, hello, everybody. So glad to have you here again. Here we are, the spiritual rock stars. We are, right? So it's time to up-level our light leadership. I'm grateful to be here to move forward within that here in 2021 with Dane Stevens. Hello.
Hi, how are you, Daniel?
I'm great. Talk about light. You got a lot of wonderful light. We were talking about pre-show, and I actually like that. So I feel it's nurturing all that light that's pouring in on your side
Great.
there.
Well, I had to close the blinds. It was blinding me and you. I'd just be a ball of light too, which, as wonderful as that might be, not in this context.
Yes. So I want to, Dane has come up with a way of helping people that is quite profound and is one of those things that helps people with trauma that where people maybe never been able to get relief, like Dane experienced from particular traumas. This way of helping people that he's developed that we'll be talking about, Neuro Trauma Healing Process, is amazing, and you want to hear about his story because I know a lot of you will relate to this story. I certainly do, as having been a therapist in the past, relate this as clients that came in, and to some degree, for sure, myself, we've all experienced some level of trauma in our life. So as we're about to step into all that and talking about reclaiming your power to create your best life, let me tell you about Dane. Dane Stevens is an author, speaker, and facilitator. He is the developer of the Neuro Trauma Healing Process and the Soul Re-Cognition Process. Healing modalities that were developed out of sheer necessity. I can relate to that, as he had his nervous system seriously compromised by a well-meaning therapist who tried to force a childhood trauma out of him. It left him in a state of constant anxiety and turned his life into complete shambles, leaving him homeless, afraid, and out of control. It took him 5 years to understand what happened to him and another year to discover what could give him relief and give him his life back. So this is from his own experience. The result of that 5-year search is the Neuro Trauma Healing Process, known as NTHP. Dane now lives very happily in the interior of British Columbia with his life partner, Anne. They now teach the Neuro Trauma Healing Process to those in need of healing and those wanting to get trained in this profound new process. Dane feels incredibly lucky to have come through what he has and blessed to have discovered this process that brought deep peace, connection, and fulfillment into his life. Yes, he now feels a sense of duty to pass on this valuable information on to others who need it. So, Dane, this is incredible, the journey you've been on. Now, I just have such compassion for people with trauma, people looking for answers. There's so many people that are stuck, so to speak, in the energy of the traumas they've experienced. And I would say, like, most of us continue to be stuck at some level in these traumas, right? So,
Yeah.
and it takes us into all different things, and we'll talk about like different patterns, addictive ways we're in relationships, etc. So, and in fact, trauma was one of the areas I definitely specialized in when I got my master's in clinical psychology. So it's something very near to my heart. So, Dane, tell me about your journey, with your own trauma and how this came to be, this work that you're doing now.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, just a little bit of backstory, and then I was doing very well in my life, actually. Had a successful business, making good money, living in a beautiful place off the ocean, and driving the vehicle of choice, all that stuff. Everything seemed to be going very, very well, except for my relationships. And because that was such a pattern where I would end them too soon, shall we say, and seek intimacy elsewhere right away, it became such a pattern. I realized, oh, like there's something going on here, and I'm the common denominator, so maybe I need to check into this. And what that brought up was I realized maybe I need to look into a childhood sexual abuse issue that happened for me, had I really dealt with it. And, you know, down deep, I knew obviously I hadn't, because I really, I never got the help that I needed from in that area. So I went to pursue that, and I went and did some groups, and that didn't quite work for me, didn't resonate with me. And I did a bunch of different types of therapy, talk therapy, and Gestalt, and even some EMDR and so on, and nothing seemed to really get me anywhere or move anything. And then I was referred to a therapist slash healer, and she came highly recommended from this person I knew. And so I went to see her, and she assessed me and said I had a energy circ in my lower chakra, which made sense in the lower region of my body. And we did a bunch of sessions, and she wasn't cheap, but I was making good money. I wasn't overly concerned about that. And a number of sessions in, she asked me if I would like to, she called it going for a home run. And that sounded fantastic. Who doesn't want to hit a home run? But I didn't know, and she failed to, or maybe she didn't know either, just how off that could be, how that could veer off course. So I said yes to the home run, which was trying to force the trauma out. I didn't know, at that point, I didn't know about trauma. I knew a little bit about energy, but I didn't know about trauma at all. I just knew that I had a pattern I needed to deal with. So she proceeded to do what she does, and I remember vividly to this day, you know, when that circ broke. She said it would broke. She would break it, and when that would happen, stuff would happen. And I was so grounded, so solid in my life. I had a strong spiritual practice of meditation and exercise, and then being in nature and so on. So I didn't expect I could be thrown off course, thrown off the cliff kind of thing. So it wasn't even on my radar. And I remember that she had me twisted in some strange position on the table. She used a table I would lay down, and she'd do some body work and cranial sacral and different stuff. I not even sure exactly what it was. And she had me twisted in some position and told me to go there. And I was so out in the ozone, I literally couldn't tell which way was up. And when I came off the table at that point, I felt scared for no apparent reason. Nothing had happened as such. And I assumed that this energy would just pass. It was just like a passing energy passing through me, but it did not. That fearful, unstable, like sort of a revving out of control energy did not stop. If anything, it got worse. And I kept seeing her, but it didn't change. And the inside, being the creator of the outside, it started to mirror my world. It started to affect my world, and I started to lose everything. I lost contracts, and I lost clients, and I lost the sale of it. I had a successful business at that point, and I lost the sale of a business, and I lost everything within 18 months. I kept seeing her, hoping something would change, and within 18 months, I was broke. I didn't have money, and she stopped seeing me because I didn't have money, but I think more so because she didn't know what to do. And I was just left hanging out there out of control. And I was forced to go on a mad search to figure out what the hell happened and how to get my life back. And it just continued. Within 3 years, I was homeless. I was just trying to grab onto anything. It's like somebody turned a vacuum on in my life, and I lost everything. So it took me 5 years to find somebody who could explain what happened to me. And ironically enough, she was Hazel, who was a trauma specialist, who could explain it to me because she had the same thing happen to her. She had a therapist or a healer, what have you, try to force a trauma on her, and it messed her up. So meeting Hazel was a huge step for me because I saw somebody who, first of all, understood what happened to me because nobody else could explain it to me. Nobody else knew what happened. She could explain it to me, and she was doing well. So that gave me great hope. And she was a student of Peter Levine and somatic experiencing. And she also worked with Pete Hellinger, can't remember his first name, sorry, and Bessel van der Kolk, and some really big people. So she had some really good training. And so I learned about trauma and the nervous system through Hazel, who was a wonderful lady. I didn't get the relief that I wanted there, though. So I kept looking for anybody or anything that I thought could help me to escape this fight or flight state that I continued to be in. And it was almost another year later where I discovered John Bradshaw's work through Homecoming. And through the left-right brain process there, I made the connection to that scared, fearful part of me. And it was an exciting moment because I knew I made the connection to that fearful part. So I kept conversing with this part and trying to make it feel safe and bring it into this present moment. And I couldn't do it. I was like an 8-month fight with myself. It became very frustrating to the point where I'm yelling at this wounded part in me to smarten up and come out. It just didn't work. So I once again looked for somebody else who did this type of work, and I could not find anybody. I scoured the internet, phoned counselors and therapists and tried to talk them into it even, and nobody would do it. And right across the street from me, literally, I found Mary, who helped me, who worked with me. And I worked with Mary for 2 months. And because she had done this work, she agreed to work with me. So I worked with her, and within 2 months, I had what I call traction. And that is having a consistently healthy and positive relationship with that life inside of me. So within 2 months, I was out of that state of fight or flight. And the process that I teach now, it just kind of flowed out of me. And the thing is, this work isn't new. Like it's been around for a very long time. It's a left-right brain process. The writing, left-right brain writing is the foundation of the work, but nobody has developed it. So it has not been made into a usable process. And it gives you direct access to your subconscious mind in a safe and gentle manner. So, when I got the relief that I was looking for, it was just euphoric in that way. I could relax, I could breathe, I could just let go. Nothing had changed in my outer world, but that energy had changed inside of me, and that child inside of me knew he was safe. It wasn't happening anymore. Therefore, I was no longer in that fight or flight mode. So it was huge. And it traveled a very long ways into the empowerment aspect, because when that, as Dr. Bradshaw says, when the wounded child becomes the wonder child, because that opening allows higher consciousness to come through you. So it's been an incredible journey. I feel very fortunate. I would not wish what I went through on anybody, but maybe that's why I went through it, so we could help people to do this and not have to go through that crazy treadmill and the insanity that goes with being in a fight or flight mode, all the time. It's horrible. So.
Yeah. I want to really first double down on what you just said, because I think that a lot of people that struggle in different aspects of life have huge things happen in their life. And of course, it's always grounded and rooted at some level, usually on our childhood wounds or past life wounds or whatever we want to look at, right? But some wounding we've had, right? And what I know about that is a lot of times we think that somehow now we're flawed. There's no way we can, I'm sure you had so many times, throughout the entire process, you're like, I'm just lost. It's never going to happen for me. You'll have these ideas come to you. And, I equate that to my own thing and trying to get my business going. And it was really tough. This is over a decade ago. And I just couldn't be assertive enough. And it had to do with my own issues with the idea of being over aggressive and being that toxic, like smooth talking male kind of guy, like I didn't want to be that guy. And so once I got over that, I just let myself be myself. Then I started to see a breakthrough on top of work that I did on myself, of course, and the help I got. But my point is that I just want to let people, and then what I've been able to do is to utilize that story of struggle to help other people, because I developed an energy scan technique and everything to tune into people and how to be assertive in conversations, just show up, And my point is I've been able to make it into gold, and I'm hearing the same thing happen to you. And I feel like that is why we go through these things here, talking on Spiritual Rockstar podcast. I think it's important to talk about when you have certain challenges in your life, there is gold in it. There's something you're meant to learn from it. And then typically we're meant to really teach that to others. We're here to share that with others. And I think that alone is something that could be life-changing. Someone hearing that today, listen, what you're struggling now with is something that you'll be teaching someone else about in the future if you so choose. And you probably will if you're listening to this podcast, because that's the kind of person you are. You're looking to do that. And so I just wanted to share that, Dane, that we have that potential and that possibility, and that you were able to utilize what you gain and learn and to turn it into something that could help other people, and so they won't have to go through the same struggle. It's exactly what I say when I help people with what I do. I'm like, I don't want other people to have to go through the struggle, because it's not really necessary to go through that struggle. You know, if we could reach somebody with this technology or whatever it is we have to offer, they wouldn't have to go through all the struggles we went through necessarily. So probably be able to help them. So that's so beautiful that you have that to share with people. Yeah.
I kind of just see this as just another step in our evolution, because I mean, our troubles aren't going to stop. But we have the big rocks that really keep us from being able to come forth. And once you discover what works for you in rising above or resolving that big block, you're still going to have challenges. But when you understand that they're there for you, that they literally will help to raise you up, all of a sudden they're not challenges. And when you get your energy to a certain level of understanding that we are evolving, that is what is going on here. And each one of these allows us to be more present, more aware, more loving, more a part of life instead of separate and in trying and competition and stressing and so on. We can just be present with life and be in a dance with life. So I guess I'm just saying it's not about staying in healing. Yeah. And once you continue to move through this, it becomes a joyous event. And it's not, I'm as far as for speaking for myself and what I do, it's not a quick fix. I want to be clear about that. What we do is based on a relationship, and any relationship takes time and effort, and this is no different, but it's the foundation of all of your relationships and how you are in your relationship with life and the world. So kind of important. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, with this particular approach you take, you started to describe it a bit already, a little bit, but tell us, what is neuro trauma healing exactly? Let's talk more about what it really is.
Sure. And a lot of what I really want to do and feel is on purpose is to explain to people how they work. So that's half of the healing, is understanding how you work and how you're working. And the NTHP literally shows you in no uncertain terms how you're working, how you're creating. And so if I could just talk about trauma first, so people have a bit of an understanding as to why it works and how it works. So I'm sure you know all this. Will be a little, you can help me out. So with trauma, what happens and how we process things is things come in through the right brain. Right brain is formless, fantasy, color, imagination, all the senses. So the raw data comes into that right brain, is fully experienced and passed to the left brain to be made sense of, understood, and filed. If what comes from that right brain is too scary, too outrageous, too overwhelming, then that left brain can't handle it and can't look at it. So it rejects it and sends it back to the right brain. What does the right brain do? The right brain does what the right brain does: sees it, feels it, experiences it in its entirety, and sends it back to the left brain to be made sense of, understood, and filed. If it's still too much, too outrageous, too bizarre, too overwhelming, the left brain rejects it again, and it sends it back to the right brain, and the cycle has begun. So that continues to cycle in our nervous system, trying to process itself. The brain's MO is survival. So it can't have this barrage of unwanted, potentially dangerous information cycling and getting in its way, getting in the way of your survival. So it pushes it out of the way, hence to the subconscious mind. Is it gone? Is it out of the way? Not at all. It's still very much alive, circling in your nervous system, still trying to process itself, trapped somewhere in your body. And that trauma, that's what a trauma is, something stuck in your nervous system, unprocessed, that trauma is going to outpicture itself in your world as a negative pattern somehow, a chronic condition, an addictive behavior, even as much as depression, because the inside creates the outside. So what we do in the Neuro Trauma Healing Process, the process does, and it has very little to do with the facilitator. We just facilitate. We don't give any information. We show you how you can get information where you can find out what's going on inside of you through you. It's not through us. It's, nobody can know you better than you. So through the left-right brain process, we literally help you to unwind that, because where that is stuck in your body, there's energy, there's stuck energy, and hence emotion and energy and motion. So when we do the Neuro Trauma Healing Process, the first thing we do is called a snapshot. And the snapshot is what happened to you or what keeps happening to you. So some people will identify with the trauma right away. They know exactly from their childhood or even, younger adult or even in adulthood, what happened, whether it be a car crash, whether it be an abusive situation, maybe growing up with a high functioning alcoholic, what have you. So when they identify with that trauma, we kind of get them to align with that energy. If there's still energy there, that's where the trauma is. So we help them to align with that, and we give that part of them a voice. And as we give that part of voice through the left-right brain process, it's safe and nurturing. And because of what happened to me, that's pretty important, very important. And you connect with that part, and your job is to create safety. Your job is to create trust. So intercompassionate connection is the key. And you can connect intimately with this part of you. So you can create that safety and create that trust. And when you create that safety and that trust, that part begins to trust you, the walls come down. It starts to unfreeze. And you're listening to this part and making it feel safe. And you're also giving this part whatever it needs. So whether it be safety, whether it be listening to, whether it be respecting, whatever that is, that love that this part needs. And when that happens, it unfreezes from that trauma. And I'm going to back up just a little bit. Two things happen at the time of trauma. One is time stops. And it keeps cycling in our nervous system at that time, at that age. It's still going on at that age. And we've all probably seen somebody, an adult, maybe even a prominent adult, who gets their buttons pushed, and all of a sudden they act like they're 6 years old. And maybe that's exactly right. Something, triggered that trauma, and all of a sudden they're back to 6 years old acting out. Mm-hmm. So the trauma, time stops and it circles in your nervous system at that age, and it splits off. And that's the part where it becomes its own entity. So when we bring that part into present time, in present time, it's not happening anymore. And when we can do that, that's when the trauma quite simply ceases to exist. It's no longer looping in your nervous system. Therefore, there's nothing to be triggered. And this is not a quick fix, but it doesn't take that long. And that's where I'm very excited about this work, because it shows us, first of all, how we're working. It will literally show you why you're getting what you're getting in your life, why you're not getting what you say you want. It shows you that you are your source. As you give this part what it wants and what it needs, all of a sudden, that's what shows up in your life, whether it be respect, whether it be love, whether it be attention, mm-hmm. whatever that is. Mm-hmm. And so it really comes full circle in that way. And when something comes around that used to trigger you, and family is a biggie, where we've had clients come and say, I was around my mother and we were having dinner and she said that, and I didn't react. Nothing happened. Most of the time I would have been in tears or ran away, and it's just not there anymore. So it's phenomenal. We're always telling our clients there's nothing to do, because out there is simply the effect. It's not about changing your behavior, not about changing your attitude or some kind of technique. When the inside changes, the outside changes, because the outer is just a mirror of what's going on inside of you. So,
right. Yeah. I mean, it's truly, it's that's it right there. I mean, that's bottom line, right? I mean, what's here is what you experience your world as. So once you shift that, so you're doing deep work with people. And, we had a discussion. It was interesting. We had a discussion about modalities, and it was just one interview, and you said something and I was confused, but you mentioned a modality that was used with you. And I made an association. You were saying, oh, that modality is no good because it did this. And it's like, I'm so tempted right now to say, yeah, and then it makes me think of this modality and that modality and all these modalities, and
True.
their
Yeah.
benefits and their sense of limitations, in every many of them, right? So they all have their own place.
Yeah.
And I always tell people I could teach people techniques for the rest of my life. I could say, okay, now try this technique. I mean, techniques are, just techniques are easy, but when we find something that's really works so well, like what you found, that my experience of it already, just by tuning into it and by based on what you say you're doing, I know that's going to work at some level 100%. It may not solve everyone's problems, so to speak, but like it's going to help. At least it's you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to be harmed further. I mean, that's one of the things, is the idea of not doing further harm. And I know myself, I wanted to share this at some point in this interview too. I was a therapist and I was searching for answers when I was helping people with trauma. And sometimes I did fine, or I did very well helping someone, but there were certain because I was kind of, maybe it was my ego, I don't know. I said, bring me the tough cases, and I'd have other people refer people to me. I don't care, bring them I don't care what they experience. Bring me the tough cases, I'll help them. But man, when they're tough cases, I mean, it is tough, and you just got to use the tools that you might have. And I don't know. I mean, some people momentarily, or even for years. I remember one person came back to me and says, no, literally what we did actually seemed to make me worse for a long time. And it was her perception. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I was just trying to do what I could to help you. And if that actually made you worse temporarily, I'm so sorry. I'm glad you're feeling better now. And but we have to realize we can only do the best we can. And it's wonderful you have something to help people, practitioners and people that want to get help, to be able to have something that's not going to do any harm. It's not going to set people back.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. Is that right, Dane?
Well, the thing is, you get your answers within you. Like, we're going to kind of sort of spoon feed you the questions in the start, but we spoon feed you the questions, first of all, to create trust, to create safety, and so you can show up for yourself, because some people can't show themselves compassion. So, in that way, the reason you work with a facilitator is because so you can make that connection in a safe and gentle manner, and so you get the effectiveness of creating that trust and that safety. So, but yeah, I consider this, a step in our evolution. But if I hadn't done the things I'd done before, I'd say I might not be here. Maybe I couldn't be here, kind of thing. And something like EMDR is a good example.
Yeah.
EMDR shows you that that's stuck in your body, that those visuals are there. Yeah. NLP shows you that you can use the body, the physicality, the energy of the body to change things. So it's really a combination. The two prerequisites we say for this work is, one is to be open-minded, because it is abstract. And if you want to figure it out, if that left brain needs to remain in control, might not be for you. And it's not about losing control, not about jumping off the cliff. It is about letting out what wants to and needs to come out. And it's surprisingly how simple and how easy that is. We talk about the subconscious mind, but maybe the subconscious mind isn't supposed to be, or doesn't have to be, so subconscious. And through this, you can actually converse with what's going on in you, and you get to go through the wounding in these parts that have a belief in separation from source, from higher consciousness. And when you give the healing, you give yourself the healing you need, you bring it back into alignment with the truth about you. And eventually what comes out is, I say, who you really are, but it's not like you've been, intentionally lying or faking, but we all have this programming and fears and so on that has kept us from allowing our power to come out. So, but it's a culmination of a lot of these processes that has come up to now. And I think the one big thing that, we all have, a lot of these modalities have a real, a part of it, but relationship is the biggie in this one, because it is literally a relationship from you to that inner life. And once again, even saying that, some people run away. But that's the foundation this work is built on, is relationship, and understanding that the foundation of all of your relationships is the relationship you have to the life within you. And that's what we try to, first of all, have people understand in a first session. We just want them to make a connection and to know that it's real. And from there to develop that relationship. So it's phenomenal work, and I feel incredibly blessed to have experienced it myself, first of all, and to help people to really connect with themselves and learn their power from their self. So it's
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, the work you're doing, I mean, the way you've put it together, is so perfect. I mean, it's just perfect for what the people you're here to serve, right? And I just, and like you said, it's not all brand new by a long shot, right? So it's just not some brand new thing that never existed before, but the way you're putting it together, and that you as a practitioner makes a difference too. And then so it's a process, and the practitioner is all important. And I know, like, the work that I've done, some of the work I do that is experience, is some of the more profound work, is the work that I do quite a bit of. That is when we're doing that dialogue work, right? We're doing parts work, or whatever you want to call it. But when we're doing that work, it's so profound for people to give a voice to those aspects of ourselves and bring those into wholeness. Because to me, in my experience with it, Dane, I mean, is those voices are pretty much wanting to affirm just the opposite of what they say at first. I can't trust anything, I'm lost, or whatever they say. Like, and they're like, what would you rather believe? Like, I'd rather believe I'm whole, I'm well, I want to have fun, or whatever. Like, and then they have it come to the conclusion, and whatever the process takes, but that it gets turned on, like, I am whole, I am well, actually. Oh, wow, I didn't realize that. Like, okay, the energy gets turned on, and now that's the experience that is getting integrated. And but it sounds like your process is helping people to get it landed fully in their energy in their body, through the right brain into the left brain, so that it can be accepted in a full level, full level, full mind, full brain.
Yeah, and what's really great about it is they understand that when their current conscious self, gives that inner life what it is that they want.
Yeah.
If they're looking for love, and I mean, most of us, people live life completely backwards, looking for love out there, looking for respect from there, looking for achievement out there. Right. When you give that to this part, when you make that part feel loved, what shows up in your world is loving experiences, or people that are loving. When you give this part the respect that it wants and needs, what shows up in your world? Experiences that give you respect and people that respect you. It's as if by magic. And this is where you get to learn that you are your source from the inside out. And the outer world is the playing field where you get to experience what's going on inside of you. And therefore, those negative experiences that we talked about earlier are simply showing you what's going on inside of you. So when you can come to the point of having a negative experience and go, oh, thank you. And you go inside and you see where you feel misunderstood. You see where you feel frustrated. You see where you feel abandoned, whatever. And you give yourself, this inner self, what it needs. And that changes. And that's a very simplified explanation, but it is quite literally that simple in the process itself. I mean, it's not going to, it might not happen that fast, but that's how we change our experience of the world. And, with what's going on in the world today, you look outside and you go, oh my God, everything's going to hell in a handbasket kind of thing. But to take this a little further, I believe that what is going on in the world today is what we're seeing is kind of that group consciousness. It's our collective consciousness, and what's up is up. When something's up, it's up for healing. Like we just talked about, when something, a negative comes up, we go, oh, thank you. When we go inside and see where we feel that way. And now what's happening in our world, and I think it's really there's a spiritual revolution, an awakening happening, because we have this such blatant separation. So the fear that you're feeling, the anger that you're feeling, the frustration you're feeling, the separation that you're feeling, maybe, go inside and find out where you feel separate. Find out where you feel afraid. Find out where you feel frustrated, and give that part what it needs. That's how we heal the world.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing to heal as such except our perception. And that's what's going on, I believe, in the world today. And it's a great opportunity. And when we can, do our own work and come to peace within ourselves, that's the best thing we can do for our world. So healing trauma, absolutely. Yeah. Go inside and learn how to give yourself what you need. So
Yeah, I think I want to really double down on that, because we give our power away, so to speak, and we get triggered by these events. So they storm the Capitol. Okay, now I'm feeling traumatized myself. It's like as though I've been stormed, right? So then you have to take a look at that inside yourself. Okay, well, what's going on inside of myself? What's coming up? What's that part saying? And then working with that aspect. So you help people with what you do and what you you share with people and you train them in to be able to do that. And it's something I train all the time. It's something, in my own way, I train people to do all the time. It's part of my constant processes for myself. And it's so easy for the mind to just, part of our mind that I don't know how you see it, Dana, if it's the wounded part, but like the part that is in the separation stuff. And it's like, that happened out there. And what are we going to do? Do we need guns? Do we need, and it's like, and then we forget too, the people that are doing the storming in this case, the reason why they're doing storming is because they haven't done this process. They haven't been doing this work. If they had done this work, they wouldn't be storming the Capitol. They wouldn't feel the need to. So things would unfold differently. Things would unfold differently. And so I feel like that's where we have to come to, is a place of love, of what we see on the outer as the inner. And then when we can do that, we can start to see more an enlightened, loving, beautiful world, from that space. Absolutely. So that makes total sense. So this is very key to everything that's wanting to unfold. I totally agree. So Dave, tell me more about this now. So you've worked with a lot of people, it sounds like, and you're training other people to do this now. How else do you see your work moving forward? How do you see it evolving yourself?
Well, it's so the Neuro Trauma Healing Process, the book that I just put out, Reclaim Your Power to Create Your Best Life, that introduces the Neuro Trauma Healing Process. And that is dealing with trauma. But the process doesn't stop there. I didn't know that, but as I continued on, it leads into empowerment. So the Soul Re-Cognition Process, and you said it right, thank you. Most people get that completely wrong. The Soul Re-Cognition Process goes into the empowerment aspect. And as I mentioned previously, when we heal that trauma, so when we have that unprocessed information cycling in our nervous system, and we bring it into the present moment where it's no longer cycling, it's present in this moment, that creates space in us. That space is naturally and automatically filled with what I'll call higher consciousness. Call it source energy, call it life energy, call it God, call it what you will. It doesn't really matter. But that energy comes up, and that energy, the characteristics of that energy are wholeness, our health, our safety, our security, our abundance, our creativity, our playfulness, our joy, our power. That's our nature. So when we get this negative programming out of the way, this is what comes through naturally and automatically. And when I experienced it, this is just, in the start, I didn't quite believe it. I thought it was just, once again, a fleeting thing. But I really started to follow my guidance through this healing work. And the Soul Re-Cognition Process also simply unfolded. And we deal with archetypes. And there's just 4 basic archetypes that I'll say make us up, or different aspects of our being: the warrior, the lover, the magician, and the sovereign. And those 4 aspects of our being, we learn how to, first of all, heal them. And an example of that is, if a person was sexually abused, I can pretty much assure you that the lover aspect of you was stunted at that age. So you probably have to do some work around that and bring it back into this present moment. And so we work with each one of the archetypes, and you literally learn how to feed yourself. And it's really interesting because it's different aspects of you, different characteristics, but it's all you. And that's where it's abstract, but you learn how to feed yourself. You learn how to let yourself be fully who you are. And it's quite phenomenal. And the next book that's coming out this year is called Unleash Your Genius. And that introduces the Soul Re-Cognition Process, which is just a continuation from the NTHP work. You just keep doing the same work, but it goes into empowerment. And you get to connect with infinite intelligence, which is always there, and the 4 archetypes, which is the 4 aspects of you. And as you learn how to feed them, as you heal them, learn how to feed them, you become more and more who you are. It's almost like you relax into your life more. You get to show up for yourself and be in a real dance with life, not separate in any way. So that's the next step from this work, next stage. And so it doesn't just stay in the healing, it goes into the empowerment. And when I say empowerment, it's really about being who you are, therefore, and in that being really a part of life. And it's tough to explain in words. It's more of an experiential thing, but I think you understand what I'm saying. So
yeah, I definitely do. And I'm sure many of the people listening absolutely do too. They're, pretty deep people. So, so tell us more about where people can get the book or learn more about you and your trainings, etc. So tell us how they can do that.
So they can get the book, Reclaim Your Power to Create Your Best Life, on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. And you can go to our website. One is danestevensonline.com. And to learn more about NTHP, you can go to anextraordinarylife.ca. So there's 2 sites, danestevensonline.com. That's DANESTEVENS online.com, and Extraordinary Life, anextraordinarylife.ca. And you can learn more about NTHP and also certification on that one too. So.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. All right, great. Well, we're at the time of the show where we like to go ahead and just pause, and I like to utilize my expertise, my gifts, just to take a minute or two to tune in to you, because it's just part of who I am. So I want to just go ahead and take a moment to do that. Are you ready, Dane?
I think so.
Okay. All right. Sure. Why not? Right. Okay. And I'll just share whatever comes through briefly here. Okay. One moment. Just the message is just around you being just this life giver. Like there's a sense of breath coming into your body. I still feel like there's much more breath. There's so much breath that you had lost. But I feel like there's more. They're showing me breath, like breath coming through your body. Yes. So anything that would work with your breath more feels like it'd be really good for you right now, like to deepen in your breath. And I'm just getting more with the earth energy, and you really getting something about you really centering with the earth energy, and it feels important that there's something around deepening with your energy, like doing energy healing and bridging the energy, like bringing, like I'm getting like this peace and this love and this like bridging heaven and earth energy, and they're showing me you as a energy, doing energy healing. So I don't know if that's incorporated into your work or not yet, but you can tell me in a moment. But I see that, and that you're a truth teller, that so you've got some of that Swami sort of energy flowing through, the third eye energy. There's definitely the past persecution energy there. Again, if you've done a ton of work, sure, it's better, but like there's just, I can see these psychic impressions, like a baseball bat to the head, or what have you. So that, again, that could be this life, could be past life. But but yeah, I feel like the more you open up in your energy, the more clear you're going to continue to be about there's this whimsical side of you that just does want to play and create. And the more leeway you can give to that, the more possibilities you have to reach more people, is what I'm hearing.
Nice.
So anyway, so this is some of I just share a few things briefly, Dane. So any quick thoughts or shares on whatever came through?
So I have done energy healing. I stopped doing energy healing. I haven't done it for a number of years because I kind of focused on this stuff. So that was interesting. Yeah. And
maybe there's an integration. Maybe there's an integration. You never know.
Who knows? Who knows? I'm all about play. I mean, what are we here for? We're here to play. So I just think that's really a part of my everybody's purpose. Play and let your play out, and you know, to help people understand that we have an inherent joy inside of us that needs nothing, and when you can come from joy, everything can be a joy. So yeah, that's I love that, and breath. I still, like, I'm an athlete, and I love nature, so I love being outside and running, being with nature, whether it be water, whether it be the waterfalls or forests or what have you. So I really relate with that. Can I share a story about Anne, my other half?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we've been together for about 8 years now, and it's funny because we went out in high school, and I was away we were apart for 25 years, and when I sent her a Facebook message. And this is when I was in a tumultuous relationship, just when I was embarking on this work. Just learned this work, and I was in a relationship that wasn't healthy. So I followed my guidance and left that relationship and actually moved back home. And when I got back home, and that was like about a year later, I got a message back from her because she didn't see it for a year. And the other relationship, we were back and forth, breaking up, getting back together. It was terrible. So in this one, she got the message about a year later, and she had just gotten out of a relationship, a long-term relationship. And we got together, and we haven't stopped since. It's just been very smooth. I hesitate to say the word easy, but yeah, it's just been such a wonderful ride. And I was doing this work at that point, working with other people. And I wasn't about to try and get her to do it or, have to learn about this. I kind of kept my distance and didn't want to force anything on her, but she started asking questions, and then she wanted to do a session. So we did a session, and she has just embraced it, and she has just really gotten into it and she's now a senior facilitator. But what happened through that is she went to do a tarot reading course, I think it was, just for fun. She's do that when she was younger, in her early teens or what have you. And she thought, oh, just for a little change, I'll go do that. She did that. And the person that was running the course afterwards took her aside and said, you need to be doing this. And she was all flattered. Oh, that's kind of funny. And didn't really take it seriously. But she continued to connect with this person and so on. And she did just continue. And it just occurred and happened. She did over 700 readings her first year. And now she's in this demand. She's a reader in demand. And I share this because, it's about letting ourselves out. And that was a part of her that she denied. Actually, when she was growing up, her sister used to tell her, oh, you have such a, don't have, let your imagination run away with you kind of thing, and shut her down. And her sister apologized now and said, oh, sorry.
Right.
So it's just really cool to see that. And knowing that, just finding out that you're psychic, I thought that was really cool. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great example of how we have to really just trust, those aspects that want to come out. And a lot of times we feel vulnerable because we've been told that's a bunch of nonsense, or, get a real job, go do something real, like things like that. And,
all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It helps people have confidence to do what comes most natural to them. Because it's funny, we tend to distrust what comes most natural to us for some odd reason, it's like because of our conditioning, right? So, but it's like, oh, if it's natural and easy, then, of course, it can't be the right path. It can't be that hard. It's got to be hard, then it's worth it, So I'm glad you shared that story. So if people want to learn more about me, though, they can go to yoursacredpurpose.com, and there you can get a nice meditation, open up your energies, your chakras, help you get your downloads to meditate and make money is what the meditation is. Also, there's opportunities to connect with me to get your own energy scan consultation. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right, Dane. So as we're beginning to wrap up, what do you have any last words for the audience today?
Maybe just to kind of piggyback on what we've been talking about, and don't be afraid of yourself, capital S self. And in that, it's, don't be afraid of your power. And I say that, and just start where you're at. Start going inside wherever you are at, knowing that that's where your life is. So go inside, be gentle. Inner compassionate connection is the key. And understand that that connection, that relationship is the segue to higher consciousness, to your ultimate life. And it doesn't matter what it is that's pushing your buttons, whether it's, violence at the Capitol or feeling threatened at work or the relationship you're in. Understand that, this is a toughie, but understand that that's the gift. That's showing you what's going on inside of you. So, feel that feeling and go inside and nurture that feeling, give that feeling what it needs, give it a voice, and learn how to create that relationship and give yourself what you need, realizing or coming to the realization that you are your source. Yeah. And you deserve it. And you are a great and worthy being who can live a life that you love to live. That's what you're here to do.
Yes, and so it is. And releasing the sense of, like we need to control the world too. I think that's what gets in the way a lot of times. It's just this sense of I can't trust it, for I have to control. So embrace that as well, and then you won't feel like you need to control. So if you just embrace, okay, I got this part of myself that wants to control. I love you. It tends to diffuse everything. Love, right? Just okay. I love you. No, thank you. I love you so much. I love that you want to keep me safe and control everything. You don't need to do that though. We can have fun and just play our part, and that's how all the magical stuff happens from there. So, okay, Dane, well, I'm so grateful that you've come on, and just love your presence and all that you have to share. And I know you have incredible things to share with people. So people want to check you out. Again, you can go to Dane Stevens online.com or to anextraordinarylife.ca. And we'll put this in the show notes as well. So again, thank you, Dane, for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Daniel. Been a pleasure. Nice to meet you and connect with you. And thanks for having me on.
You likewise. And to all our listeners, keep on tuning in, and we'll keep on rocking it here on Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till next time, everyone.
You're listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.